to the Marketing Nomad Show, the fun pit stop for all things Instagram, where I also share my entrepreneurial journey, some of my lessons, wins, and challenges along the way, so it can inspire you to get started and grow on Instagram as well. Welcome to the Marketing Nomad Show, Tiffany. How are we doing today?
Hey, Prit, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing great too. How's this week coming out for you?
So far, so good. I find time is flying so far in 2021, but I can't complain too much, all things considered, taking it a day at a time. What about you?
Oh, same here. I can't believe we're almost at the end of February. That's insane, according to me, especially given that this month only has 28 days.
I
For
know.
those of you, for those of you who are listening in right now, we have Tiffany with us today. Now, Tiffany, today we're going to talk a little bit about how she started her business, what are some of her struggles, because she actually started her coaching business while she was working at her 9 to 5. And honestly, I think the biggest questions on our mind right now is it even possible? So today we're going to talk to Tiffany. We're going to find out all of her thoughts. We're going to figure out all the advice she has for us. If you are at a 9 to 5 and you are thinking of starting your side hustle, or you've already started it and you're wondering where to go from there, this episode is going to be for you. Now, Tiffany, let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you come up with the idea for your coaching business, and what makes you so passionate about it?
Oh, yes. I love that question. So, a little bit about me. I've spent about almost 13 years now in the corporate space within my Fortune 500 company. And that's really where my inspiration came in starting my official business, which for everyone who's tuning in who doesn't know me yet, I'm a career strategy coach. And the inspiration, why I say it in this way, is because having gone through a very successful career on my end, where I've been very fortunate to have some amazing opportunities. I've achieved 7 promotions in under 10 years and definitely learned what and how to do things in a way that fast tracks your career growth. I kind of packaged that all together, and through further reflection recently, really realized that there's so much that school doesn't prepare you for when you're getting into the corporate world or the workforce or wanting to set yourself up for success. And that can lead to a lot of blind spots that will cripple your progression if you're not careful. And it's the types of things that school just doesn't prepare you for, doesn't teach you. And so that was really where my inspiration came in starting my business through my career strategy coaching, to essentially empower young professionals, whether early in their careers, just starting out, or even several years in, of what they should be doing to be best positioned for success, avoid those blind spots, like I mentioned, and do it in a way that actually fast tracks achieving their career goals. So that's really the inspiration. And in large part because when I've been in my corporate work, the part that I've loved the most about it, this might sound a little cliche, but it's so true for me anyways, is that I've loved impacting my teams and growing my teams and seeing them succeed. And it's that same type of mindset where I just want to continue impacting people and helping them be the most confident that they can be in crushing the goals that they've got set.
Oh, that's just so wonderful to hear. It's so wonderful to hear why you are so passionate about what you do, and also a little bit about your career, your coaching business, and how you've gotten it all along up until now. So, if I know this correctly, when you started your coaching business, you were working a 9 to 5. Weren't
Yes.
weren't you like afraid? Weren't you scared? What were your thoughts at the time?
Yeah, a lot of different thoughts running through my mind, especially Prit, because it was something I had been thinking about for several years prior. And just as a little context, the first time I really started thinking about this, but I didn't admit it to myself fully, was on a maternity leave. And at that time, my husband was starting his own business. And it just felt like it would be too much change at once to, both go the entrepreneurial route. And I had a really good thing going with my work too. I've loved it. It's been so beneficial for me in many, many ways. So that's where I kind of just tabled the idea. I didn't really vocalize it much, even not much to myself. And I just kind of let it simmer and simmer and simmer. So by the time where I decided to officially embark on it while still working, I just felt more ready. I felt like everything was amounting to this. And there were just certain signs kind of happening in my life, professionally and personally, that was leading me to this direction. So that in and of itself kind of gave me a sense of calm as opposed to anxiety about, juggling the two. That said, and maybe we'll talk about this in today's episode too, but I find that the time management piece is really important, and knowing what you want to focus on and when you want to focus on it, because it could be really overwhelming, especially if you're coming from a corporate background like me that has a lot of demands on your shoulders, a lot of responsibilities, and a very fast-paced, dynamic environment. But I became kind of a master at time management, which is also something I coach on in terms of work-life balance and being in control of your days and your weeks and everything. That's a very important skill set when you're starting a business, especially if you already have multiple priorities. And those could be professional priorities, being an existing job. It could be personal priorities, it could be family, kids, whatever life stage, our audience is at. But it's really important to try to compartmentalize what you want to do and how you want to do it, and stay very focused with achievable goals so that you don't get discouraged. That was really the key thing I focused on at the very outset when balancing the two. And I was working the majority of the first year of my coaching business. And it all came down to that, being very particular of what I wanted to do, what were the goals I wanted to hit, and putting the necessary steps to make it happen and not getting distracted by other things.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, really, I know that time management, I mean, even for me, keeping my entrepreneurial business as a full-time job, time management is a little bit of a challenge. So I definitely
Yeah.
agree when you say that it is a skill set that needs to be mastered, especially when you are, whether you are in the corporate or you are with your entrepreneurial journey, or you are mixing the two of them together. It is so important, and it's so wonderful to hear you say all of that. Now, I know that the time management aspect was one thing that you mastered, but what were other areas that you personally struggled with when you first started out, which I'm pretty sure even my listeners would also be struggling about it as well?
Oh, yeah. Well, one thing I often say, whether it was in my professional career or coaching, is you don't know what you don't know. And that's kind of the spirit of coaching, right? Is to lean on people who have done what you want to do and to help you get there faster. And because I really wanted to be able to prove to myself that this is something that can work, I wanted quick validation and wins along the way. And so one of the most important things I did at the beginning was actually investing in a program that would help me get my coaching business off the ground. And I'm a big believer in investing in yourself for continued learning. And that was one thing that really helped, because key challenges I faced at that time when I was starting out is I knew what I wanted to do, but I wasn't exactly sure what would be the best methods to get it off the ground. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about social media, where prior to my coaching business, yeah, I had my social media platforms for my personal use. But to be very honest, I wasn't very active on them. I would post very infrequently because I wanted to keep my personal life a little bit more private. And so suddenly now wanting to use social media to help grow a business was very new to me. And that's where I lean on experts that can help me to get that path underway much quicker. And I have such an appreciation for coaches and supporters in this type of space, because that's what they're there for, right? To really help you get to where you need to go faster. And it's exactly the philosophy I have in my own coaching of helping my own clients get to where they want to go faster in their own careers. So that was probably one of the biggest challenges, determining how can I use and leverage social media to build up my personal brand from a business standpoint, and really gain some best practices on engagement and outreach and lead generation and content and all of that. The other thing I would say, Prit, I think, even though I would say I'm quite good on the type management front, it still is sometimes a struggle. It's difficult to become a true master in it. But I'd say one of the things that was a bit challenging in that was the content creation, and really trying to find the right dynamic of plotting out content ideas and then actually doing the content and then loading the content and doing it in a way that would have an achievable rhythm week to week, in addition to the other priorities that I had on my plate, and then including some personal priorities because I have children as well, and family, household to upkeep and all of that. So that I'd say were probably like the two big ones. So leveraging social media to help me catapult like the launch of the business, and also a bit the content piece to really keep the ongoing momentum and lead generation and outreach and all of that.
I think what you say with consistency, especially with social media, is definitely true. As an Instagram coach, I can definitely vouch for it. And so, how did you manage to, get your content up? I know that you said you had coaches along the way. Did you hire any extra help, or was it just you all along?
Yeah, so I've been a one-woman show the whole time, still to this day. Possibly will bring on help at one point. I'm thinking I'll be getting to that sooner than later. But up to now, because I do have fairly good time management skills, I've been able to plot things in accordingly and still make it work. But again, that comes down a lot to very effective goal setting at the heart of it and making sure that I'm setting realistic goals that will help me progress day after day, week after week, but in a way that is very manageable as well. And there were a lot of things that, even just going to the previous question, that were a little bit of struggles in terms of the tech side of things. Like that was never really my forte, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to build my own site. I'm doing it all from scratch. I'm not going to hire someone. I want to learn the process. And again, it's that continued learning. So it took me a little bit of time. Probably I'd be a lot faster at doing it now that I've gone through it. But I find that's a really important part of building up your own business, is going through those learning curves and learning for yourself. What are the things you like doing? What are the things you don't like doing as much? And using that as a gauge to get that eventual support that you might need.
I think you bring up such a valid point, Tiffany. Especially as a business owner myself, and having gone through the learning curve of getting your website started, getting frustrated with it, creating your content, navigating through Canva for the first time. I think that that is such a beautiful thought that you say that we need to go through this. I mean, hiring help is easy. It's probably in the beginning stages, you might not even have that kind of monetary resources to fund for an extra help. But I think now, reflecting back upon the 2 years that I have spent on my business, I think yes, it makes sense that I went through each of those, and to a point where today, if I look back, I know what stuff I like to do, what I'm definitely going to hire someone to do once I can. So I think it's really important as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to understand what your strengths are, and you can only figure that out when you go through the process. So
Yeah,
I think that's a very valid point over there. Thank you for bringing that up. Now,
you're so
I think
welcome.
we were talking a little bit about time management, and I think that that topic has come about a couple of times in our conversation just now. And I wanted to ask you, what are three mistakes that you see people making when it comes to time management, and how
Mm,
do we overcome that?
yeah, great question. I'd say one of the mistakes, this might sound a little obvious, but one of the mistakes is lack of time management, meaning that they don't really know where to start. And the mistake from that is that they end up spreading themselves really thin, where they don't have the proper goal setting to help implicate their time management. And so they let too many things take over their precious time instead of them being in control of it. So that I would say is probably the first mistake. The second I would say is probably shiny object syndrome, where we might see an idea that we like or see a competitor in the space doing, or just being inspired, which is an amazing thing as you're building your business. You want to kind of seek out constant inspiration. But that could sometimes create distraction, and distraction can directly implicate time management. And it goes back to what I was saying before about being very focused on what you want and having those goals clearly set. Because when you have that, even if you see something that's really interesting, you could still mark it down as something eventual you want to get to, but not to kind of put a wrench in the plan that you already had set, and see that through first. And so that I would say the shiny object syndrome is definitely kind of a mistake that could kick in too much. And then I'd say the third is not setting the right boundaries when it comes to time management. both personally and also outwardly towards clients. If people are working with clients or vendors or like whatever nature of business that you have, you need to set boundaries. Boundaries for yourself as to when you're going to be working, when you're going to be shutting off, what the communication channel and method should look like. And also make that very explicit to the people that you're working with so that they can have that mutual respect towards you. It's very easy when you're starting a business, especially, to just want to be there for everyone and stretch yourself to show that you could bring the value and that you can be that support. But that's going to directly compromise your own well-being, which I'm a huge advocate in helping people protect, is your well-being, because your career, whether in a company or in your own business or anything else, doesn't work unless you work. And for you to work properly, you need to keep your well-being in check. So I would say that would be the third thing about really reinforcing and setting boundaries properly.
Okay, I have been guilty of 3 out of 3 of the things that you have mentioned. So, yes, as you're saying it, I'm like, oh, tick, did that. Tick, did that too, did that too. But no, it's really, really interesting that you bring up these three, because I feel that it is, very challenging, and especially with time management. I definitely have struggled with it in the past. And even though I am sort of getting better at it, it's still, a work in progress. As you said, you can never be a master at it. But, I also do want to kind of circle back on the fact that, you took some time, you worked your 9 to 5 along with your side hustle. And then finally, if I'm not wrong, you don't have your 9 to 5 anymore, and you are focusing on your side hustle full time now. So it's no more a side hustle, it is your full-fledged business. Now, a couple of
Yes.
questions about that. One, was it scary to, leave your 9 to 5 to hop on to your business full time? And how did you come to the conclusion that it was time?
Mm, yes. So I don't think scary is the right word that I experienced. I think it was a mix of emotions. I would say probably the biggest one was bittersweet. Because, like I said at the beginning, I owe a lot to my corporate career. Like, the person I am today is in large part because of the experiences I went through and the person I've been able to become. And I literally have nothing bad to say. If you asked me, Prit, like a year ago, if I saw myself leaving, the answer would be a hard no. Like, I saw myself continuing to build a career within the corporate space. I loved it, and I still love so many aspects about it. And I mean, I guess to give a little bit of context, there were several important personal decisions that I had made with my family, largely impacted by the pandemic and just some different reflections we had to do. And that was a big reason as to why it just didn't make the most sense for me to be able to go back and show up in the way I knew I would need to have shown up. And I don't think that would have been fair for me. It wouldn't have been fair for them. And that's where I got that level of clarity that it was the time. It was time to close off that chapter of my career, which I spent pretty much half of my career in, and now really focus on some new exciting adventures, especially my own coaching business in the career space. And so it was very bittersweet because, as you've seen, and probably in everyone's work that's tuning in, people really can make that environment, and you miss a lot of the people that you work with because they also shape you in the way that you develop yourself to be. So I'd say it was bittersweet more than scary. And honestly, and it's something that I coach on too, because communication is really important. And it's super important to continue building those relationships. You never know when things are going to come back full circle, and you want to keep those connections open. So the communications I received upon announcing my departure were extremely positive and extremely heartwarming. And that also helped in easing any kind of nerves that I might have had in going into that announcement, because I know that it's always there should I want it to be there. But at this time, I really felt that readiness level really pushing me forward. So yeah, I wouldn't say scary. I'd say if you are really believing in what you do, and you have to have that belief because no one else is going to have that in you. You have to believe against the haters, against the questioners, against everyone who might not be with you on this journey. You believe on what you need to do and the value it's going to bring, then that in itself is going to push you to help you achieve what you want.
And was that belief, was it supported by how well your coaching business was doing as well? Given that it was a side hustle, did you feel that your business was ready to be now a full-fledged business?
Yeah, that's a really good outlook to put. And I would say, yeah, that had a piece to do with it. So I really used the first year of my business to hit certain milestones that I had for myself. And I didn't want to hold myself too accountable to it, because at the end of the day, if I still really believed in this and I knew that I was helping even, a few people, it would still be worth it for me. But that's a very personal thing, right? I know everyone's context is different. Some people might have larger financial goals that they need to hit and all of that. And I definitely had certain financial goals I wanted to hit, and I was hitting them. And so that gave me just that further validation that this has momentum, this has continuity, and I can continue growing and building it, especially if I can dedicate 100% attention to it. Whereas before, the attention was a little bit split, right? So that was definitely a factor in the decision making, but I plotted out that prior year in a strategic way to make sure I could hit those goals, to then make the decision that I felt was right, which in the end led me to wanting to pursue it full
I really liked your thoughts on that. I really think that, that validation. I have seen Tiffany on Instagram as well, been following her posts, and she has been doing amazing reels. I absolutely love them.
time.
So I can absolutely see your dedication, and I've seen you grow. I think I've known you for about a couple of months now, and I myself have seen Tiffany grow, and it's been amazing to watch her journey. And I also do want to, kind of talk to you a little bit about how is life now that, you're not working a 9 to 5 and you're focusing full time in your business. Does it feel more free? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I would say liberating. I would say liberating is probably the word I will sum it up. Not because I didn't feel free before. It's not in that sense. What I mean is that I feel freer to build the business exactly the way I want. And I'm going to give a concrete example to shed a bit of light here. So, because I was in my corporate work while I started my business, and because my coaching is oriented to young professionals specifically, LinkedIn is an amazing platform, right? There is a wealth of young professionals on there. But because I was sort of juggling the two, I didn't necessarily feel comfortable at that time going all in and promoting the business on LinkedIn, just because I had my whole professional network on there and I didn't want to bring too much outward attention to it. So I used other platforms which were very helpful for me in building my business, and Instagram being a primary platform for that. But now that I'm kind of ready to go free reign, I don't feel that restriction anymore. And that's what I mean by liberating. So I can literally do what I want, when I want, how I want, and not have that voice in the back of my head that was kind of there in the prior year saying, oh, maybe you shouldn't do that just yet. Maybe hold off here, and that kind of thing. So that's been, again, a very personal emotion I felt, but it feels really good.
That's definitely a really interesting thought. I think that, if I were to be working a 9 to 5, I think that that voice would also be at the back of my head. And I think too, I do want to, put the question out there that's on everyone's mind. You have achieved it, but as a general front, is it possible to balance a 9 to 5 with your side hustle?
Yes, absolutely yes. And just to throw a few other things into the mix, I had my 9 to 5, I had my coaching, I had 2 kids under 4, and my own family responsibilities too. So, and because I'm all about personal life too and putting that first and foremost, that was just another crucial part when we're talking about juggling. And I'm doing it, and I've done it, and I will continue to do it. And so I hope that inspires our listeners, because if you know what you want to do and what that could look like, and you believe in following through, because it won't be easy. You're gonna hit walls. You're gonna probably fail in some ways. And by the way, I don't look at failure as failure. It's just a constant learning curve. And if you keep moving past and learning what you want to do better or different next time, that's the mindset to have. But absolutely, it's possible. It's absolutely possible. And that self-belief is really crucial in it. I even noticed it when my husband was starting his business, and there were a lot of doubters around him. And it was a big feat that he was taking on. But I always believed in him, and I helped him to ensure that he constantly believed in himself. And now it's like night and day of where he started to where he is now. And so when you see that potential in something that others don't see, you know you've landed on something really good that's worth pursuing. And paired with action and guidance and goal setting and planning is what brings it all together to make it a reality. But you need to have that level of conviction, and it is absolutely possible.
Do you hear that, guys? I hope the message is loud and clear. You need to have that level of conviction, and it is possible. Tiffany has done it, and I'm pretty sure you guys can do it too. Now, Tiffany, we're kind of going to wrap up the entire episode. Do you have 3 tips to summarize 3 actionable steps that my audience can take to balance their work and their side hustle?
Yeah. So this might be a bit of a theme of what we talked about today, but I would say goal setting first and foremost, and concretely try to get specific in terms of timeline. I found what's really helpful is goal setting on a quarterly basis, broken down on a monthly basis, and even on a weekly basis. And that might sound like a lot of goal setting, but it actually helps make things so much more digestible to achieve and overcome. If you don't have the goal setting, you might feel like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. But before you know it, a week's gone by, a month's gone by, and you're not holding yourself accountable enough. So that I would say is really the first thing. The second thing is continue to be inspired. You know, I have this mindset of always be learning. So whether that's through your own research, your own insight, leaning on others for support to get you to where you want to go faster, like coaches or mentors or anything like that, or just even family members that can cheer you on. Try to surround yourself with the right people that will help inspire you and help push you to get you to where you need to be. That's sometimes a bit of a harsh wake-up call, but if you find that there's people in your life that are kind of dragging you down or straying you from what you ultimately believe in for yourself, you might just need to block out a little bit of that. And it's a bit of a tough love situation, but no one's going to do it for you. So you have to put yourself first in that sense. And then the third one, I would say, it ties a little bit with work-life balance, but is prioritize your well-being. You're much better off knowing the best practices early on of how to keep yourself healthy in the equation, both physically and mentally, because there's going to be a lot of perseverance that's required, a lot of grit, a lot of resilience. And you don't want to compromise yourself in the building of your business. There's going to be times where it's going to be super demanding, tiring. Maybe you're going to work long nights, weekends, whatever it is. And you'll do what you ultimately feel like you need to do. But please, please, please try to keep your well-being in check. Find those methods that are going to work for you to balance it all in a way that feels very natural and in a way that you could be consistent with.
Well, those were 3 fantastic, actionable steps that I'm pretty sure that you guys are going to implement and be so successful balancing your 9 to 5 and your side hustle as well. Now, Tiffany, you are a career strategist for young professionals. So you help young professionals find their dream 9 to 5. Am I correct?
Yes, in part that, and also I'd say even more specifically, once they're in their job, what do they actually need to do to be set up for the most success and fast track their career goals and promotions and career moves? Because those are the things that school doesn't really teach us for. School might prepare you how to land a job, how to build a resume, how to interview, although I focus on all of those things as well, but it really doesn't teach you what you need to do to build up your confidence, overcome self-doubt, navigate internal politics and conflict resolution in a way that doesn't work against you, achieve work-life balance, and balance workload and reinforce boundaries and all of that, and also how to actually close that gap to your next promotion and negotiate your salary and all the likes of that. So those are really the types of things I love to focus on in my coaching to set young professionals up for the most success in their career.
So if any of the, my listeners are young professionals and they would love to seek your help, how can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first, I hope everyone found this helpful. And if you did tune in, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and let me know what your key takeaways were from this episode. So, firstly, you could follow me on Instagram at tiffany.uman. That's my Instagram page where I drop valuable content each and every week about career strategy and setting yourself up for success. You are more than welcome to email me as well. It's tiffanyuman at tiffanyuman.com. You could check out my website, www.tiffanyuman.com, should you like as well. And if ever you're interested in taking that action into your hands in terms of your career success, I also have some amazing free guides ready for you as well. They're all linked in my link in bio on Instagram. So you're more than welcome to check those out as well.
Perfect. I'm going to put those links all in the description box, guys, in case you want to reach out to Tiffany. Please do. She is amazing. I have seen her tips on coaching. And if I were to ever get back into 9 to 5, or, I wish I had that kind of support when I was looking for a job and even when I was at my 9 to 5. So I absolutely would highly recommend you to join Tiffany in her journey as well. And definitely reach out to her, tell her what you liked about this episode. She's super friendly, she's super nice. She's definitely going to, talk to you, and you guys are going to have some amazing conversations there. All right, guys, that brings me to the end of this episode. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for coming on here, talking to us, sharing your thoughts and advice on how to balance your 9 to 5 and your side hustle. It has been a fantastic episode.
Oh, thank you so much, Prit, and thank you for having me. I've had so much fun. I hope our audience has found this helpful, and all the best to you as well. Wishing you all the most success in it.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. All righty, guys. I will catch you guys in my next podcast episode. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, guys. Bye.
Bye.